My name is Alex. I'm 28 now. But this happened when I was 22. I moved to a small town in upstate New York called Eldridge Hollow. It was one of those places the rest of the world forgot about. Old wooden houses that creaked in the wind, thick forests that swallowed daylight, and a muddy river that snaked right through the center of town. I went there because I inherited my grandmother's house after she died under mysterious circumstances. They said it was a heart attack, but she was healthy as hell. The house was this big, creepy Victorian thing with pointed towers and windows that looked like empty eye sockets. I needed a fresh start after losing my job in the city. Little did I know it wasn't a fresh start, it was the beginning of a nightmare. I arrived on a rainy autumn afternoon. Red and yellow leaves covered the ground like spilled blood. The air smelled like wet earth and something rotten, like the river was exhaling old secrets. The house sat at the end of a gravel road, completely isolated. The nearest neighbors were at least a mile away. When I pushed open the front door, the hinges screamed like something in pain. Inside, the air was thick and still, like no one had breathed in there for years. Furniture draped in white sheets, dust floating in the weak light coming through fogged windows. I actually smiled to myself and thought, this is perfect for an aspiring writer. Total silence to create in. But the silence didn't last. That first night I set up in my grandmother's old bedroom on the second floor. It had a tall four-poster bed and a huge mirror in the corner with a long crack running straight down the middle, like someone had punched it in rage. I turned on the ancient radiator. It coughed black smoke before finally heating up and lay down with a horror novel. Around 2 a.m. I heard it for the first time, a whisper. So faint I thought I imagined it like wind slipping through a crack, but there was no wind. I sat up, heart pounding. Just the house settling, I told myself. Old houses do that, right? The whisper kept going, getting clearer. It sounded like a voice murmuring words I couldn't make out. It was coming from the hallway. I grabbed my phone flashlight and stepped into the corridor. It was long, lined with closed doors on both sides. The wooden floor groaned under my bare feet. The whispering stopped the moment I reached the attic stairs. I looked up into pitch black. "Hello," I called, feeling stupid. No answer. I went back to my room and locked the door. But that night I dreamed of shadows sliding across the walls, whispering my name over and over. "Alex, Alex, come." The next day I brushed it off. I cleaned the house, unpacked boxes, went into town for groceries. The local market, an old woman with sunken eyes stared at me funny when I mentioned the house. Old Martha's place. "Be careful, boy. There are stories about that house." I laughed. "Ghost stories." She didn't smile back. "Not ghosts. Something worse. Whispers that take people away." I left thinking it was just small-town superstition. By the second week, the whispers became routine. Every night around 2 a.m. they started, sometimes from the attic, sometimes from the basement. I went down to the basement once. It was damp and smelled like whetstone and mildew. I found boxes full of yellowed newspapers and my grandmother's diaries. She wrote about the whispering shadow. She said she heard voices calling the names of people dead for decades. "They want company." She wrote, "They're calling me now." The last entry was from a week before she died. "I can't take it anymore. I'm going up to the attic to see what it is." The next day I went up to the attic. The stairs were steep and narrow. The air up there was colder than the rest of the house. The attic was packed with junk, old trunks, broken dolls. Another mirror just like the one in my bedroom, but this one wasn't cracked. In the center of the floor was a faded white chalk circle with strange rune-like symbols inside. I took photos with my phone, but when I checked them later, every single picture was blurred, like something had interfered. That night, the whispers were louder. Now I could understand words. "Join us, Alex, the shadow is waiting." I started researching the house online. Eldridge Hollow had a dark history. Back in the 1800s, it was a mining town. One of the mines collapsed, killing 47 men. Their bodies were never recovered. People said their spirits wandered the tunnels, whispering to lure the living down into the dark. My grandmother's house had been built right over a sealed mine entrance. My grandfather, who died when I was a kid, was a descendant of one of the few miners who survived. Coincidence, I told myself. But the whispers didn't care about coincidences. One night I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a real flashlight, an iron bar from the basement, and went back to the attic. The whispers were intense, like a chorus of hoarse voices. When I opened the attic door, the temperature dropped instantly. My breath came out in white clouds. The chalk circle on the floor was glowing faintly, like it was lit from underneath, and in the center, a shadow. Not a normal shadow, it was solid, like black smoke that moved on its own. It turned toward me, and I swear I saw eyes pure white, no pupils. "Alex," it whispered, the voice echoing inside my skull. I froze. The shadow drifted closer, extending tendrils of darkness. One brushed my arm. It was ice cold and burned at the same time. I screamed and ran down the stairs, tripping over my own feet. I barricaded the attic door with a chair, but all night long I heard scratching on the other side. The next day I called the local priest, Father Elias, an old man with shaking hands. He came over, sprinkled holy water, prayed in Latin. "This isn't an ordinary demon," he said. "It's something older, tied to the earth itself." The miners woke it up. It feeds on fear, whispers to draw victims in. He gave me a crucifix and left. That night the whispers laughed. "Foolish priest, he'll come 2 days, lured together." I barely slept. The whispers started during the day while I was in the kitchen, while I was in the bathroom. Objects moved on their own. Books fell off shelves. Doors slammed shut. Once the bedroom mirror cracked further, the fractures forming what looked like a screaming face. I kept seeing shadows in my peripheral vision, always gone when I turned to look. I tried to leave, packed my bags, got in the car, drove toward the main road. The engine died halfway there. When I looked in the rearview mirror, the shadow was sitting in the back seat, whispering, "You can't leave. Stay." I ran back to the house, heart hammering. I called friends, but my phone signal dropped every time I tried to explain what was happening. Then came the night of the big storm. Lightning lit up the sky. Thunder drowned out the whispers for a few seconds at a time. I locked myself in my bedroom, clutching a crucifix, but I heard footsteps in the hallway, heavy like miners' boots. The door rattled with pounding knocks. "Open the door, Alex, join your brothers." I yelled, "Get away from me." The door burst open on its own. There it was, the shadow, now shaped like a man, dressed in filthy coal-stained rags, skeletal face with glowing white eyes. It came closer. I smelled it, wet earth, decay. "We were left to die," it whispered. "Now you'll keep us company." I threw the crucifix at it. There was a flash of light, an ear-splitting scream. The shadow recoiled, melting back into the wall. I went back to the basement, desperate for answers. I dug through more boxes and found an old mine map. It showed a sealed entrance directly beneath the house. With a pickaxe I found in the shed, I smashed through the basement concrete floor. Below was a dark tunnel, reeking of sulfur. I climbed down with my flashlight. The tunnel was narrow, walls slick with moisture and streaks of coal. The whispers echoed from deeper inside. I walked for what felt like hours. I found bone skeletons of miners still wearing rusted helmets. At the end was a large chamber. In the center, a stone altar with the same rune circle, and surrounding it dozens of shadows, all whispering in perfect unison. The largest one stepped forward. "You came, Alex, just like your grandmother came. Just like your grandfather came. My grandfather, he sealed the entrance, but it cost him his life. Now you've broken the seal." I realized by digging I had set them free. The shadows surrounded me. I felt cold tendrils pulling me to the ground. "Join us in the eternal dark." I fought, but it was useless. Then I remembered something from my grandmother's diary. Fire purifies. I had matches in my pocket. I struck one and threw it onto the altar. There was coal dust everywhere. Flames erupted instantly, spreading fast. The shadows shrieked and retreated into the cracking walls. I ran back through the tunnel as the fire chased me. The ceiling collapsed behind me. I burst out of the basement just as the whole house shook. I sprinted outside into the pouring rain. When I looked back, the house was sinking into a massive hole that opened in the ground. I moved back to New York City, but the whispers never fully stopped. Sometimes at night I still hear them faint, distant. Alex will come back. I can't sleep without a light on anymore, and I will never set foot in Eldridge Hollow again. That's my story. If you ever hear whispers in the darkness, run, don't listen. They're looking for company.